I just had collected all these random flower seeds over the years, and I decided to pool them all together in a handful and throw them on the garden. I wasn't even 100% sure what some of them were anymore, but I just scattered them. So like, it was chaos. It was a chaotic thought that I'm gonna grow a garden using this method. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Hobby Homestead. I'm Amy, and I'm gardening and suburban homesteading here in Zone 6A in Southern Ontario. And boy, I've gotten better at saying that. I got feedback early on that it's really important to know what zone you're in, and so I've tried to remember to say it every time. I do have to say though that I think it's much less important to know what zone somebody is gardening in when you're looking for garden content, especially this time of year. And a lot more important to know when their last frost date is, what kind of climate they're in, like is it really arid or is it a humid climate, is it temperate? And so I will also give you that detail right now. I am in Southern Ontario, as I said, so we're pretty humid here through the summers, nothing like down south though. Essentially, we get enough rainwater to water our gardens with, so we don't need to worry about that. And also we get plenty of sunshine, but really not that much extreme heat. So right now we're sitting around about 10 degrees Celsius. I also like to put the Fahrenheit on the screen for you if you're in the US, because I can't do the conversion in my head very well. Math is not my strong suit, but gardening is. So it's like the end of April and it's pretty chilly today. Although the last couple of days it was almost 20 degrees Celsius, so it goes a bit like this. The thing for us is we go from fairly cold springs. We got snow last week, like it's still fairly cold in the spring. And then all of a sudden around mid-May, it shoots up and we have like 30 degrees Celsius days. And then real summer hits. And so usually in the summer, we're like pretty comfortable around the high 20s in Celsius, but then we get these heat waves, which everybody gets, of course, and that stresses out the gardener and the plant, just mostly because we're not acclimated like people in warmer climates are. So that is the gist. That is who I am and how we're gardening here in Ontario. And if that is relevant for you, then awesome. I know I personally was always looking for more garden inspiration in zones and climates like mine. So there you have it. That's who I am, and that's where we're gardening. As the intro to this video would suggest, today I'm talking about chaos gardening, not because it's something I'm particularly fond of. Okay, I just gave away my bait there, the bait for this video, that did she like chaos gardening or not? I'm actually talking about chaos gardening today because it's a trend. It was a trend last year and I still see it talked about now. Chaos gardening is the idea where you just plant seeds wherever. So you may take like a mix of seeds and just toss them into a garden bed. Or I guess you could do it with plants as well, just plunk plants down wherever and not really think about how they're gonna go together. And I'm sure there are people out there for whom this strategy might work. If you are really like loosey-goosey and you don't care so much about a structured garden, then chaos gardening may be for you just because it's simple in the design phase. But I'm here to tell you that it's not necessarily simple to maintain. Just because you throw a bunch of seeds on the ground and like hope for the best, maybe a garden will grow, doesn't mean that the maintenance of that garden is going to be any simpler than any other kind of garden. And in fact, it's probably the opposite. I'm going to show you the only space I've actually done chaos gardening in. It's this spot right here. So right here, I have a little mud kitchen. I have a peach tree, a plum tree, a pear tree, a couple little raised beds that we just put in last year. And then this whole area here, before these raised beds went in, was all just freshly excavated dirt. There was nothing going on. And I thought I would just throw in a bunch of seeds. I had a bunch of wildflower seeds. Now, they were not native wildflower seeds. They were just wildflower seeds. So if you want something that's actually going to be beneficial to the ecosystem and you want to scatter flower seeds, definitely make sure that what you're buying are native wildflower seeds, native to your area. I didn't even buy a flower mix. I just had collected all these random flower seeds over the years and I decided to pool them all together in a handful and throw them on the garden. Some of them were old, I'm sure. I wasn't even 100% sure what some of them were anymore, but I just scattered them. So like, it was chaos. It was a chaotic thought that I'm gonna grow a garden using this method. So it did work to some extent, but most of the seeds didn't even come up. And here's why. If you're gonna scatter seeds in a garden, like just toss a handful, you need to be on top of watering those seeds all the time. Ideally, you're going to bury them just a little bit. Like, very few seeds actually need to be on the surface of the soil. Most need to have at least a small covering of soil. And if you scatter them like that and then you walk away, the sun's beating down on them, they're never going to germinate. I mean, maybe you get your timing right and you scatter seeds and then you get a week of nonstop rain, and that would probably work. But you have to do more than just scatter seeds. Similarly, you have to do more than just like plunk some plants in and walk away. And I think that that is the vibe people expect from chaos gardening. It's kind of like a proxy for lazy gardening. So it's not so much that you want to be chaotic or have a chaotic space. You just maybe don't have the bandwidth to think about planning a garden and intentionally placing seeds and knowing where plants are going to come up and caring for it. Those are two different things, really. The idea of a chaos garden where you don't want to put any planning work into it, and then the idea of a lazy garden where you actually plan a lot so that you can have a garden that takes minimal work and upkeep. So how did this garden turn out when I just scattered seeds in a real chaos gardening manner? Not that many seeds came up. No surprise. And the seeds that did come up, I mean, the flowers didn't necessarily go well together. Ideally, you're going to try to have flowers that bloom in the spring and in the summer and in the fall. And if you don't plan those out in the right places, what you end up with is a clump over here that blooms all at once in the spring, and then there's nothing else blooming there for the rest of the season. Or you have nothing blooming and you think, oh, this garden is the worst. And then boom, all of a sudden in August, you get your flowers for the end of summer and the fall. And I mean, that's fine if you're not going to try to enjoy your garden until the fall, but most people want a nice balanced blooming of flowers. So it's for those reasons that I don't recommend chaos gardening in that way, where you just scatter seeds and hope that like luck is on your side. Now, I am primarily a food grower, not a flower grower, although we grow flowers as a big part of this garden system. And the flowers that I do grow are mostly native now. I would say it's probably like 70% native flowers and 30% non-native. And I do that for the ecosystem benefits, to have lots of food for the pollinators, and to make sure that I'm not growing things that are invasive, that are going to outcompete our delicate and at-risk native species in wild spaces. Because when you put something in your garden, it's actually pretty easy for it to get carried elsewhere. I do have a couple no-nos in my garden that I'm kind of ashamed of, but I grow anyway, and that is mint. Now, it has been contained. I had a bit of a struggle with containing it. I know. I'm moving it into this bed here, which it will be contained in, because this bed here is 3 feet tall. It'll be contained. It's a bed within a stone boundary. Like, if you're gonna grow mint, surely that's the kind of situation it can be contained in. Okay, that mint story seemed like a tangent, and honestly it really was, but it also relates back to this idea of chaos gardening, because that is very the opposite of chaos gardening. If you put mint just willy-nilly, chaotically, wherever you see fit, no, you don't even see fit, where you just like, I'm just gonna put it here and close my eyes, gonna throw it, it's gonna land there. That's a problem, because that mint will take over. If you put a little bit of care and attention and intention into planning your garden from the get-go, then you can prevent big problems down the road. So you can put mint into a very contained area, and then you can drink all the mint tea you want all year long, and you're not damaging ecosystems or giving yourself the future problem of having to weed an extremely invasive plant out of your garden space and out of your yard. Let's talk a little bit more about food and the chaos garden now. Growing food is something that takes a lot of work, and it's not just at the planting stage. Growing food requires harvesting. So you can work your butt off all spring, getting those seeds in the ground, getting those plant starts in the ground. But for the flower gardener, they may be able to sort of hang up their hat and say, oh, now I can sit down and have a beer and look out at the garden and think, wasn't my work worth it? For the vegetable gardener though, that's the time of year when we're just getting started. That's the time of year when we have to come out and harvest all the time, tend to our vegetables, keep them fed and watered, and then bring them inside and process them down into the food that we eat. So it does take a lot of work throughout the year, no matter what, whether you sprinkle your vegetable seeds from a big handful into a bed and hope for the best, or whether you organize yourself. That work in growing food is definitely still going to come later on. And I have found that there are a couple of benefits to growing things in a way that chaos gardening might appear. I'm talking about polyculture here. So that's a diversity of crops all in one space. Where I have a raised bed here, I may sprinkle a bunch of carrot seeds, and I may sprinkle a bunch of radish seeds near them, and I may plant some pepper plants in between all of that. Also some flowers, attract the pollinators. Maybe I'll put some marigolds on the ends or something. Oh, and definitely some onions. You can plop some onions in there, some green onions, whatever you have. And that's a beautiful little polyculture bed right there. Every plant has its own little purpose. They get along really well. This is not, strictly speaking, companion planting. That's kind of a word that's gotten a lot of hype on its own. This is just the idea of planting diversely. Can confuse the pests. If you spread out what you're growing in different areas of a garden, then even if the pests get to one patch, they're not necessarily going to get to the other patches. So that's a benefit of growing like that, and it may look like chaos. I'm sure I can dig up some photos of my own garden where I planted that way, just intensely polycultured, where there's tons of diversity in a bed, and there are benefits to that. But it's also not chaotically done. There's still intention to it. You have to think about what plants work well together and what plants are going to cast shade on others, what plants grow faster than others, that kind of thing. There's still planning that goes into it. And then on the other side of that spectrum, you've got this like utilitarian version of a garden. Oh, the chickens, just noticed they laid their egg in the shavings here. Somebody has decided that they don't like to use the nest box anymore. Who it is. Anyway, utilitarian gardens, that's what I was saying. The way that I'm growing my gardens this year, and for the most part last year as well, is more structured. And so I plan out what's going to go in the garden beds in a really structured way. For example, right here, my backdrop for the last little bit has been these old yard waste bags. And they are actually keeping moisture in the soil where I have a bunch of carrot seeds. Carrot seeds do not like to dry out in their process of germinating, but they can take 4 weeks to germinate this time of year. So it's really hard to keep that soil evenly moist. Putting something on top like cardboard or I'm hoping these yard waste bags are going to do the trick, but honestly, they're a little thin for the job they need to do. You can also put a wooden board on top of carrot seeds. That aids in germination. And it's really hard to do that if you have scattered seeds all over the place. It's a lot easier if you have a more utilitarian style of garden where they're all in a tidy row. And I know that this whole bed is going to be carrots this year, which just makes sowing actually easier than if I just scattered seeds everywhere and was trying to worry about, where did I put that thing? Where did I plant that other vegetable? Am I going to have room to put something else there? Or are some seeds going to germinate that I forgot were even there, right? If this is the carrot bed. And so it's pretty simple to know that's what's in there. That's what's going to be in there from spring all the way through till winter. We're keeping this bed stocked with carrots. It helps my brain to process the to-do list when it's structured and organized like that. Also, when you're growing vegetables, you may need certain protections for those vegetables, and those differ depending on what vegetable you're growing. We have these hoops in some of the beds, and that will be for vegetables that either require protection from a pest, like this insect netting, which is here to keep the leaf miners out of the beet greens as the beets get growing. Actually, at the moment, it's here to keep the rabbits and squirrels from eating the seedlings that are in this bed, but it has multiple purposes. We also use these hoops to put plastic row covers on. So if there are certain crops that like it really warm and need to be protected, we can have plastic over those. But if I were to mix something like a spinach with something like a tomato, and I had the plastic over young tomato plants to get them through just the first little cold bit of May, then that spinach is definitely gonna fry under that plastic. There are things that you just don't want to grow next to each other when you have to employ things like a plastic row cover or certain insect protection. Like, different vegetables have different needs, and that's less to do with like fertilizer and feeding the plants, because if you have really healthy soil that's full of organic matter, then you don't really have to worry about that. But it's more to do with those extra things, like maybe some of them need a little bit more water, maybe some of them are fine drying out, and maybe some of them need pest protection that would somehow overheat other crops if they were in that same situation. So for that reason, I do like to keep fairly orderly rows or beds of the vegetable crops that I am growing. And chaos gardening just wouldn't allow me to care for the plants in the way that I want to. Now out here, this is the food forest part of my garden. I'm in the suburbs, but I do still maintain a food forest. It's got fruit trees, which if you've followed my channel for a while, you'll know that they are now dead because of the rabbits, but we have other fruit trees over there, and I'm gonna replace these with others. But there's raspberries, there's fruit trees, there are a lot of food crops that are perennial in the ground right here. We've got rhubarb and horseradish and Egyptian walking onions, it's like a green onion, and herbs like sweet cicely, and did I say raspberries? And we have other berries too. We have gooseberries and haskaps and currants, and there's so much food in this space. This is only about 30 feet by 15 feet. Like, it is not a huge space, but it is full of food, perennial food in a system working together. So it's a food forest. But then there's also a lot of native flowers that I've planted in this space. I'm trying to get the cottage garden vibe with native flowers. And so this year I'm hoping is the year where everything just like burgeons into life and looks great together. With native plants, they say in year 1 they sleep, in year 2 they creep, and in year 3 they leap. And this is year 3 for pretty much everything in here. Year 4 for some of the originals, but like this is really the year it should start exploding. So there's a lot of stuff in this garden. It's not planted in raised beds. They're just dotted everywhere throughout. And I do plant things, some annuals, some tender annuals like zucchinis, just randomly throughout here. Oh, I forgot wild strawberries. The whole ground cover level is wild strawberries. And this garden, honestly, is pretty chaotic. And there was a bit of an overall structure in mind when I designed the garden. I knew I wanted 3 fruit trees here to mirror the 3 fruit trees over there. And I knew once we put in a big trellis for the raspberries back there, that the raspberries were always gonna live there. And I knew that I wanted a cottage garden vibe with native flowers. But other than that, I just plunked stuff in. I'm very fortunate that I get a lot of native flowers from my dad, who is an author on the subject of native flowers and has an epic garden, and he'll often just bring me the baby plants that come off of the parent plants. And so I'll end up with wheelbarrow loads of plants that I have to find a home for, and I just plunk them wherever. I don't really know what they're gonna look like when they get bigger. I don't even always know when they bloom or what color they're going to be. I just like stick them where they need to be. He tells me generally, like, do they like full sun? Do they like it wet? Whatever. So I know they have the right environment, but I don't know what they're going to look like. And I just stick them in. That's not the way I am with food, by the way. That's the way I am with other plants, ornamentals, native plants. And so this is very much a chaos garden in that sense, but it still has that structure, the intention behind it. I knew what I wanted this space to do for me. I knew what I wanted it to generally look like the vibe of the space. And so from those bones, there was a little bit more flexibility to just plunk things in a chaotic way and still succeed. And I think that's the trick. I think that you can be kind of chaotic when it comes to actually planting plants, as long as your garden is set up in a way that is going to help those plants or those seeds succeed. So maybe you're going to just scatter seeds everywhere, have a sprinkler set up, or lay down some light mulch or something to retain the moisture to make sure that most of those seeds do germinate. There's definitely ways where you could make a chaos garden work a little bit better for you. But at the end of the day, I am much more inclined to plan my garden in detail. I also enjoy planning it, mapping out where things are going to go and then putting them in their places and knowing how I'm going to maintain those things, making sure I'm going to have room for everything I want. It's just something that I enjoy. That's why I'm not a chaos gardener. But if chaos gardening is something that you have tried and love, please tell me all about it. I want to hear your experiences. I want to hear why you loved it. I want to hear what worked so well about it. So don't be shy. I'm not going to be judgmental, I promise. Share in the comments with me why you like chaos gardening. And if you're like me and you prefer something a little more utilitarian, I'd also love to hear about your gardening experience and why you prefer that. Thank you for watching. I hope that this has given you a little food for thought as we start our gardening season here in Zone 6A. Things are just getting to that point where people are going to be scrambling to the garden centers to get their plants into the ground. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe to my channel for more gardening and suburban homesteading content. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll come grow with us.